Level 0 Scavenge is not only my very first Paper Mario challenge ever, it's my very first challenge run ever in any video game ever. This challenge here was the seed of the entomology-obsessed lover of challenge running, narrating this video to you right now. And now, I'm taking you back in time. Back when my videos looked like this instead of this, and when my microphone sounded like this.
Here's one of the few items you can get at the moment, a mushroom, which, great item, because we're only gonna have 10 HP anyway.
Goes to show how far I've come, huh? Anyways, as for level 0 rules, you can only level up BP, but you also cannot equip any badges that cost 1 or more BP to equip. As a result, for the entire game, Mario only has 10 HP and 5 FP. Moreover, you can't use shine sprites in this game, so you can't rank up your partners either. But then come the scavenge rules in this challenge. Here, you also cannot buy items unless required, so the contact lenses, the dizzy dial, and the dried shroom. Moreover, Zesty is also off limits. Also, one last thing, I am also doing the Pit of 100 trials in this video, but I'm not getting the strange sack either. And with that, we're ready to begin. Lord Crump is honestly no different than he normally is in any other playthrough. With super guards, he can be beaten in as few as 2 turns. 2 jumps, 2 hammers, 1 jump and 1 hammer, either way take your pick, he's good as done. We also recruit Goombella, who's an okay starting partner, but later on will become completely useless. The 1 damage she does is all the damage she ever will get to do, so when we get to chapter 3, she will be outclassed by Yoshi. They have the same HP, but Yoshi hits 2 times more, as well as an additional attack in his gulp. Actually, time to think of it, she's outclassed when you get Flurry, because Flurry has more HP than Goombella does. If you couldn't tell, level 0 runs tend to hate Goombella. By the way, you just might see some of these pop-ups of text come up in this video. I can't remove them. These are basically a relic of the past when I used to do Let's Plays. It does take a while before the rules of level 0 actually start to matter. The Goomba trio in the Rogueport sewers is not really worth talking about, and I say as much in my original video. After this though, we do get access to our very first items in the entire run. A mushroom, and a fire flower. Offensive items are finite, so you want to be careful and save them for when you really need them. Healing items, not so much, but you still want to be conservative with them. It will be a while after all before you get actually really good healing items that are often replenishable. Though since we do get Sweet Treat not too long afterwards, I'm not really sure how much we'll need items. Bear with me, it's been over 4 years since I've done this run, almost 5 years in fact. Now the first boss fight, Blooper, isn't really a trouble for us at all. Only doing 1 damage, you can expect that we're going to be pretty good at survival here. And a good thing too, because for this fight in particular, I'm really bad at super guarding. Let us now begin the first chapter, chapter 1. No, chapter 42, of course it's freaking chapter 1. So when I mentioned infinitely replenishable items to heal with, one of them I had in mind were horsetails. Hitting this candy pop 10 times will spawn a horsetail that heals you for 3 HP. And Petalburg has these items called turtly leaves that appear in front of Kroop's house. Eating these restores 3 FP. My personal recommendation is to store your stronger items for later when you really need them. For the time being, these weaker items will work just fine. A recommendation I would also suggest for your attacking items if you don't need them at the moment. If you don't do that, it can lead to you being wasteful. In fact, this moment right here. I find this item called the POW block. You are limited to only 2 POW blocks for the entire game outside of enemy drops. What the game intends for you to do with these POW blocks is to use them against both the ball clefs and the bristles, so that you can make your way to Schwank Fortress. However, this is entirely unnecessary, because if you defend yourself, they can't hurt you. Moreover, you can also just super guard them and they'll take damage in recoil. If you're smart, you'll save at least 1 POW block for chapter 3. There's a fight in Glitzville that's made monumentally more easy by having at least 1 POW block on you. Unfortunately, this being my very first challenge, I lacked any prior experience. So yeah, I'll let you know when we get to that blunder moment. While in Schwank Fortress, I used some fire flowers for the fuzzies here. As far as I was concerned, it would not be a big deal. In fact, this was such little a big deal that I didn't even bother showing the fight with the gold fuzzy in this challenge. But given the fact that the fuzzy horde and the gold fuzzy only do 1 damage per hit, I think Past Me was onto something. It was not a big deal at all. The later fight with the red bones are also elementary at best. After Koops uses his power shell on the dull bones, we shell toss and then hammer away at the red bones until it goes down. No reinforcements are ever built, so this was a very simple fight. Now, in Hooktail Castle, we also find another item called a life shroom. There are precious few of these little morsels that exist in the game, so you want to save these whenever possible. With that in mind, guess what I'm going to do later in this challenge? But first things first, we have Hooktail to fight. Just so you know, attack effects are I'm not using here, and there's a story behind that. When I first got into challenge running, it was from watching the Game Grumps. They were fighting Hooktail, they forgot attack effects are, and they managed to beat Hooktail without attack effects are, thanks to having close call equipped. Would you believe me if I said that was the video that showed me that you could beat Hooktail without attack effects are? Before that, I thought she'd be impossible, and I was too afraid to ever actually try it. Then one day, just to show that I can do it, I made a video of beating Hooktail without attack effects are. I posted that video on the Paper Mario Reddit, and Cappy saw that video, and he introduced me to the wild world of Paper Mario challenge running. Before that day, I never once thought that I'd be able to do anything this difficult. But his confidence in me would then lead to, well, what you see on this channel to this very day. Anyway, what else is there really to say about this fight? Up until the end of the first phase, I didn't miss any super guards. I started losing my footing near the end of the first phase, but I got it back right at second one. And after a bunch of super guards, we do end up beating the first boss, Hooktail. And so ends Chapter 1. With our first Crystal Star under our belt, we're ready to go back to Rogueport. Though before returning to the 1,000-year door, we also get a free Sleepy Sheep drop and some more horsetails. But oh no, my inventory is full! Now, the logical thing to do right now would be to hike back to Petalburg, deposit some items, and then come back to get more horsetails. But ladies, gentlemen, and friends of all identities, what did I think to do right now? I threw away a power block. Yep, one of 2 power blocks for the entire game, and I threw it away. This is going to be a problem later in the game, because I can think of at least one fight in Chapter 3 where power blocks would be extremely helpful. And now I don't have any more. I figured that by now, I was not a big enough idiot, so what did I do? I paid my idiot tax and got myself a lottery ticket. And this is something I have to admit was kinda dumb on my part. When I first did this run, I had no idea how the Happy Lucky Lottery actually worked. I was thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get plenty of live streams for free, this is gonna rock. But there's 2 problems. One is that technically by rules, this is actually something that should be banned. Why is that? Because you're spending coins on items. Yes, I did have to buy the contact lenses to get to West Rogueport, but that's required. This isn't. But to be absolutely fair, after Chapter 2, this really doesn't matter. Not only do I never get a livestream from this, but there's this item called Mystic Eggs that you can get from Poni in the Great Tree, which coincidentally is Chapter 2. Also, I equipped the W emblem because back then I was a pleb. And don't try to argue against that because I just did this without thinking. There were still quite a few items to find, just not much particularly useful, and nothing needed for the Shadow Sirens either. Compared to Hooktail without attack effects are, this fight was very easy. All we had to do is have Koops use Power Shell twice, mostly thanks to the Turtley Leaf we had, have Mario jump on Marilyn, and then finish this fight with an Earth Tremor. 3 turns, take it or leave it. There also are some good items in the Great Tree. For now though, let's focus on Magnus von Grapple. My game plan here was basically non-existent. We jumped, we body slam, we failed literally every guard possible, and not once did I ever think to try Earth Tremor. Instead, I consume a Fire Flower and Mystery. The latter may have been useful, but I would never know now. We proceed to then get ourselves a Dry Shroom and Dizzy Dial. After all, we're forced to buy them, so there's nothing I can really do to get around this. And we start Chapter 3, which has a lot of fights, but hey, that's Glitzville for you. Let's just skip through the most important ones. Also note, I still have a live stream in my bag. So anyway, I was fighting the Handed Ogres. There's also an Ice Storm. Guys, I'm telling you, you just cannot make up this stuff. My first thought was Gale Force, but it didn't really work. It blew away just one bandit and not even the mode of the Ice Storm. In a panic, I tried Clock Out and it actually worked. We then went on to pick them off one by one and one guard on the big bandit saved their items. Crisis averted. Sometime later, we fight some Iron Clefs who can't beat them, and I get a Yoshi I name after myself. My. Something about me 5 years ago must have been so conceited. Now, to avoid redundancy, I'm just going to tell you to watch my partners only challenges if you want to see what these partners are all capable of. For the sake of this run though, let's just say that Yoshi, Vivian, Bobbery, and Miss Mouse are all the partners you really need. Yes, I did in fact say Miss Mouse. I'll explain later in the video. The rest of the fights weren't really that special, though I did find myself using Sleepy Sheep quite a bit. And then, wait. Oh my god, I'm actually being smart. I deposited my life shroom. Oh, thank god. I thought I was going to do something really stupid later on. But then after the Master Koopa Masters, we got ambushed by Bowser, who I proceeded to lose to. Normally that doesn't happen unless either it's Paper Mario 64 or fanfiction. Either way, I made more progress to the major circuit, and while fighting Chop Country, you may have noticed that I have a live stream again. It begs the question, why did I withdraw my life stream while we're in the Glitz Pit? To this day, I can't answer that. Heck, even back then I couldn't answer that. And it's sad because it's immediately after Chomp Country I fight the Koopinator. And around now, I had that moment of, oh shoot. Because guess what? I really wish I had a power block right now. Instead, I threw my power block away instead of having a live stream on me, and wouldn't you know it, I lost my live stream in this fight. But oh no. It doesn't end there either. I lost my live stream, I lost the battle, and I lost both of them permanently. You know why? Because after this fight, instead of resetting, I saved my freaking game. Yeah, I'm a challenge runner. A mentally challenged challenge runner, but a challenge runner nonetheless. Safe to say, if you ever had a low opinion of yourself, just remember, we all start from somewhere. I also took more than 20 damage worth of damage in that fight, so I had to fight Chomp Country again. But when I got back to the Koopinator, I did much better my second attempt. This time around, he didn't use Power Shell nearly as often, and my super guards were much better as well. Though that last fight did trigger in me a sensation to use Clock Out much more often. You'll see what I mean later on in this challenge. Up next was Rock Hawk, who wasn't too hard of a fight. Spin jumps and Yoshi got us pretty far. Though 1/3 of the way through the fight, we were taking a lot more damage from the Superman Slam. Still, thanks to Sweet Treat, we stayed pretty healthy all around. Then came the prop drop, and I knew it would be a good idea to not try to use anything funny here, so I used Defend with Mario, triggered the attack, got Flurry out to help out, and from there the rest was pretty much history. My guards were still pretty sloppy all around, but I did manage to win with only 1 HP left. Could I have done better? Probably not at the time, but right now, I could say definitely. But what about Macho Grubba? Well, for this fight, I was relying a lot on the special move Clock Out. Clock Out is a status move that inflicts the stop status on this victim. It is a luck-based attack, but if it actually works, well, you have practically 3 turns to do whatever you want. I got Clock Out to work not just once, but twice. And because of how Macho Grubba's AI works, whenever he doesn't have ×2 status, he will always reapply it. And that's all he does with his turn. So when he has ×2 status but is also stopped, well, he can't do anything. So for the entirety of this battle, he was a sitting duck. The combination of Mario's spin jump and Yoshi's ground pound knocked him out before he could get in a single attack. That's 3 crystal stars, and we now have Power Lift, which will be a very useful move, I'm almost certain. I'm also apparently only now fighting Gus. I say apparently because nowadays, I can generally beat Gus before getting Sweet Treat. Now we're in Chapter 4, this is where logically, you would use your Drive Stream if you had it on you right now. If we give a consumable item to Eve, she will give us, in return, a shooting star. This item is permanently missable, so get it now while you can. There is also a free live stream in the Twilight Shop, as well as a new item called the Boost Sheet. There are only 2 boost sheets in the entire game that you can find in the overworld. The other one is locked behind Chapter 8. Some other handy items do exist, but aren't really that special. Though it's difficult to complain about getting infinite golden leaves, which now outclass turtley leaves. This brings us to Atomic Boo, which was a very easy fight. All it ever did was just try to slam me with its body. No stop status, no attempt at confusion status, really no nothing. And after a few turns, it became nothing. I fought this boss just because it was there, but otherwise there's no real point in doing it. Unlike the next boss, quintuple question mark. You jump, you ground pound, don't screw up, this fight's easy. Too easy. In fact, this chapter's not over yet. Unlike my life, which ended twice. God, these corridors are so narrow! Sometimes, I just have to wonder what was going through my head when I was giving quintuple question mark some of his names. Meme? Diz Kid? Like the ice climbers made from Super Smash Bros. Melee? I don't even know anymore. Though he kinda does wobble back and forth. Anyway, I blackmail him with his real name, and I get another item drop while we're heading back to Creepy Steeple. Just take a guess what it was, just guess. Yeah, Boost Sheet! The item for just 2 turns that makes you invincible. You know what? After my blunder in Chapter 3, I'm gonna say I need it. Just like when trying to graduate high school, I'm gonna need all the help I can get. Then came the fight when fighting Dupless and partners. Though I guess I was completely committed just to fighting Dupless instead. What a pity. I would have loved to see everyone else get a chance to shine before that star were to burn up, but nope. Though to be absolutely fair, I did beat Hooktail without a Tech Effects R. And she is a stronger boss than Dupless is. But still, how disappointing. But that is the end of Chapter 4. And it's also after this chapter we recruit Miss Mouse. It's been far too long, milady. Funny thing about her is that her Kiss Thief is actually extremely strong on this challenge. What do I mean by that? Let's say you needed some items, like say, more boost sheets. In theory, if an enemy in the front had a boost sheet, you could have Miss Mouse run up to that enemy, Kiss Thief it, steal its item, and then run away. And then do this on repeat, over, and over, and over, and over. Now, I do not want to abuse Kiss Thief. In fact, I'm pretty sure I thought the same thing back when I first did this challenge as well. I'm just saying that in theory, you can do that. Now, as for Chapter 5, there are a lot of really good items you can get while on Keelhaul Key. Most notably, Whack-a-Bumps. 25 HP and 25 FP is quite a lot. But seriously, where would you get off hurting a poor defenseless creature like a Wacka? Irrelevant. Sometimes I have to wonder why I make things so much harder on myself. I'm fighting 3 Embers, and I can just use Art Attack to finish them off in like 1 turn, but I just don't think to do that. Despite that though, my fight with Cortez was an absolute trip. First things first, I didn't fully understand Cortez's AI like I do now. Henceforth, I used a Courage Shell on Mario while he was in front on the 2nd turn when Cortez was targeting the back. However, I somehow got it in my head to use Bomb Squad on Cortez while he was on the 2nd phase, to then expose the gem by targeting the bone pile twice, and then had the bomb squad go off, doing 6 damage per bomb, off of literally nothing but a whim. Then the 3rd phase happened, and this is what I normally would do. I'd switch to Flurry and use Gale Force to get rid of the weapons. Here though, I used Power Lift, and to my credit, I got a very good Power Lift. Plus 3 attack, plus 4 defense. And I just go start slamming in Cortez, but I don't actually get the KO on him. But here's the sad thing. The Bomb Squad did 2 damage to his head. The Super Guard did 1 more damage to his head. Yoshi's Grub Hound did 7 damage, and Mario's Jump did only 8. Altogether, that's 18 damage. If I had used Spin Jump here, I'd have actually won this turn. But I didn't, so the fight would end a little bit longer. I still won, like 2 turns later, but truth of the matter is that seeing these miscalculations kinda hurts in retrospect. And not too long after this fight, we also had to fight Lord Crump and the Crossnots. By the way, I'm using Goombella. Why is that? If I had to hazard a guess, it would just be because, let's say, Lord Crump was badgering Goombella before when we first met her, and now it's time for her to get her revenge. Otherwise, I have no freaking idea. The way I fought Lord Crump was slow. Both because I couldn't do very much damage, and also because the Crossnots did a lot of damage with their forks. This necessitated that I heal a lot. Eventually, we hit the 2nd phase, and only now I get the bright idea that, I have Power Lift. And guys, listen, no joke, the 1st phase took me 8 minutes. The 2nd phase took me 2. That's the difference between doing 1 damage per bonk and doing 4. But still, no items were used, it was mostly just star power. And since we were so often in danger, we got a lot back every time we attacked too. But that ends Chapter 5. The road to Chapter 6 was not very long. Most of it was just spent helping Frankie and Francesca. Oh wow.
Such language!
Yeah, I'm a brony. Deal with it. Aside from a few items in Chapter 6's Riverside Station, there's not much to really pick up here. As for Smorg, it was not a hard fight. I used a single Thunder Rage and that was really it. That aside, I got a fantastic Power Lift of plus 4 attack but only plus 1 defense. And the damage I was doing was absolutely massive. We ended up knocking out Smorg before even getting to see the 2nd phase with the Claw. Now that's potent. Just like that, Chapter 6 is over. And Chapter 7 is just about to start up. After suffering through the part that literally nobody worth their salt likes, the General White Hunt, we reach the moon. Considering that we can't come back to the moon until after we beat the game, grab everything off the moon, because in reality, you just don't know if you'll ever need it. Then came the Crossnots Fortress. First arriving here, we had to fight 2 Crossnot elites. One of them had a stopwatch. My first thought was to try using Spring Jump to KO in 1 shot, but I missed the action command. So I had no choice but to use Veil and just hope to not get hit by the stopwatch, and I was very fortunate that as soon as I used Veil, the Crossnot immediately afterwards used the stopwatch. Thank Venus for predictable AI. Thank Venus. I'm not playing Bug Fables. But crap, I need to do Malthiva now. Yeah, but who? Hey, comment down below, who should I bully in this game from now on? Okay, whatever. Regardless, the Crossnot Fortress has its own items. Nothing too especially useful, but again, you never know. It's time for the Chapter 7 boss, Magnus von Grapple 2. Now up to this point, I did have a few game overs. though those were to regular enemies. This is the first boss where I had game overs to, period. First things first, here's my successful attempt. I knew almost immediately that power lift would be a necessity. Though it wasn't very good, it was a +2 attack, +2 defense. It did help quite a bit, getting a lot of damage early on. Though only having 5 FP, I was pretty short-sighted here, going for a spin jump really early on in the fight, and not being able to properly deal with the X-punches without using Earth Tremor. And that's a real shame, because I wanted to save my star power for later in the fight. However, as luck would have it, I was thrown a flower point by the audience, which means I can use Gale Force. Ain't life funny like that? And good thing, because my play was a little sloppy here. For this fight, I opted to use some of my courage shells because I knew that I wouldn't be able to use the promotion in Chapter 8, since basically every boss in that chapter can pierce your defense. And Magnus von Grapple 2 has this move called the Audience Cannon, which does 3 damage per hit and hits you 10 times in succession. Without additional defense or super guards, it will knock you out. Unfortunately, at the time, I was not good at keeping track of his HP, and this led me to be rather wasteful. So not just one, but both courage shells I had were used up here, though the second courage shell was really worth its value and then some, because for all 3 turns, Magnus 2 kept using the Audience Cannon on Mario when his defense was increased. In reality though, I imagine that Power Lift could just be a lot more useful all around because of the defense increase. Either or really does work, but yeah, the extra defense is absolutely appreciated, though you really need extra attack as well because you do so little damage otherwise. Though, then it happened where I was actually about to KO Magnus von Grapple 2, but I didn't know how much HP he actually had left. One of these days, I should really just get a notepad so I can keep track. Either that, or actually think about the game I'm playing. Because yeah, wasting an item like that is not something I enjoy doing, especially in a challenge like this. As for my failed attempt, I actually went at this with Vivian because I thought that she could punch the X-punches, but she can't. Yeah, these big, pointy spikes and the fists just do not stick out to me as being something that'd be sharp to touch. That aside, I actually managed to super guard the entire Audience Cannon.
That's right. I got away with it all, and I'm still alive.
Did I mention I'm freaking insane? But do not be fooled. Yes, that feat was superhuman, but I also choked. I choked hard. Near the end of the fight, Vivian got hit by the X-punches and she got KO'd because I missed every single super guard. And then Mario, who was completely open to the Audience Cannon, gets completely obliterated. And that was my one and only death to Magnus von Grapple 2. For now though, we have Chapter 8. And our first, quote-unquote, boss is the Dark Bones. With all of our star power, this fight is actually very easy. Supernova once, and then Earth Tremor, and you beat them all. They never stood a chance. But it doesn't take long before we get to the real baddies in this chapter, starting with Gloomtail. Not only does he have a lot of HP, but all of his attacks are basically instant death. He has an attack power of 8, but his Earthquake and Mega Breath do at least 10 damage. Meaning that yes, Gloomtail can take you from max HP to 0 in one hit. It doesn't help that he also has a poisonous breath attack, and he seems to really like using it, which I can't say I blame him because it is both Mario and his partner. And of course, there's also the bite, which you cannot guard. Under the confines of level 0, this boss can be an absolute nightmare to fight. Beyond audience luck, I also had to use Clock Out to win this fight. Safe to say also that Power Lift is once again fantastic. And the massive damage coming from basically being able to use Mario's hammer twice cannot be understated. It didn't hurt that back then I was also willing to use Merly's help here too. Of course, some good luck and a lot of attack power on its own would not be enough to survive, but I also had to be good at super guarding. And while at the time I was not very good at attacks like say Gloomtail's Poison Breath or the Earthquake, I do have quite a bit of experience with say Hooktail's Fire Breath. All the same though, 80 HP makes this fight feel like it drags on and on, no pun intended. Even after another Earth Tremor and then a Shade Fist, he was still alive. Until he wasn't. As bad as Gloomtail was, the next few bosses will not be any easier. Exhibit B being Redux Shadow Sirens. Marilyn. That's all I have to say, just Marilyn. The lightning magic she has is a war crime. You cannot guard it, you cannot super guard it, all you can do is sit there and take it. It also hurts both you and your partner. So yeah, that's fun. One way I worked out to actually win this fight is to get really liberal with my use of status elements. Not just Clock Out, but also stopwatches and Sleepy Sheep. If it works, yippee-ki-yay, we unlock the potential to actually win. But if it doesn't, quite frankly, it's like tying my hands behind my back, stuffing me into a potato sack, and then throwing my butt in the ocean. With lightning striking me as I'm in the ocean. Funny enough, my successful attempt could have very easily been a loss if I did not use items. Marilyn was just relentless, spamming her lightning magic like I was a Swanna. It got so bad that I was actively spamming clock out trying to get it to work out of desperation. I had literally no other options in my mind. To this day, I still don't know what I would have done. When the game bullies you with lightning you can't super guard, it becomes rather obnoxious, don't you think? So naturally, I bullied the game back. And then after slam jamming Marilyn, Beldam, and Dupless all in that order, we finally beat this infernal fight. And the scary thing is that there's still so much more to do. There is a silver lining though. There are some fantastic items in the Palace of Shadow. From items that hit everybody, to another boost sheet, to many more life shrooms. We're anything but short as far as options are concerned. On the note of life shrooms, I found a dark wizard that also had a life shroom that was being held. And you betcha I went to steal it. Which kinda makes up for my blunder back in chapter 3 now, doesn't it? But then we have another fight coming up. Grotus. My god, do I hate this guy. High damage potential, unpredictable attacks, lightning fast minions, and a freaking barrier. Everything about this fight feels like it was constructed specifically to cause us hell. So much so, I opted to bring a life shroom in my bag for this fight. Just to throw this out there, if you did not have any more offensive items for this point in the game, you are so screwed. Because those Grotus X's are always going to respawn after every turn, and the added defense really makes Grotus' measly 50 HP really last. Star power will become instrumental from this point forward in this challenge, and here is no exception. Not only is the potential damage from Art Attack absolutely massive, but you have enough star power by this point in the game to use it twice. But of course, you also still have to be very good at super guarding, and if you're not, those Grotus X's will suck your HP down like a freaking courtesan. My victory against Grotus only came about because he spammed the counter status. I also opted to do this fight with Vivian because she can target the Grotus X's, which Valkyrie can't. And this means that at the most, Grotus can have maybe 3 alive, but with 3 he doesn't have a barrier up, so I can actually use an item to destroy them all later on. It's also nice that Art Attack is not being cut off because of that barrier. But in typical TTYD fashion, we also have Bowser and Candy Koopa immediately afterwards. Mentally, I was not prepared for this fight, so I tried Showstopper. It didn't work. So I had Vivian use a boost sheet on Mario, and I switched to roll next turn for Bobbery. The game tried to give me a pity coin, but I said I don't want your 2 freaking cents, I want to win. And the game I guess figured that out because not too long after I dodged the coin, I got a free boost sheet from the audience. The funny thing about this, by the way, is that I was just about to hit the button to hit the stopwatch. I couldn't even see that boost sheet, it was just thrown into my lap. All of a sudden, I just get frantic. I give Mario some power punch, later on a gradual syrup, and I was just spamming spin jump, just do as much damage as you freaking can, end this fight quickly. But at the same time, I felt my grip slipping also because I just cannot guard worth my freaking life. Honestly, so lucky that I only lost my hammer and not my jump. Cause what's Mario without his jump? He's just man. Or Stan, like Grunkle Stan. How about Grunkle Stanley? SquarePants. Anyway, later on I use the Mr. Softener to lower that defense that Bowser has, and I'm just spamming my attacks until he eventually goes down. And lo and behold, Bowser is down and out. And the funny thing about it all, I still have my life shroom, but I also gained the boost sheet out of that fight. It honestly speaks for itself. Not much left to do besides getting more items from the Palace of Shadow that I left behind, and then rearranging what I have to see what's best for the Shadow Queen. Ultimately, I settled on 5 life shrooms, 4 boost sheets, and a honey shroom. You might be asking, how to get a honey shroom if Zesty is banned? Well, note, recipes are banned as far as cooking them myself, but all I did to get this was give Zesty a recipe book. By the rules of Scavenge, this item is legal, and even if it wasn't, I could just as easily get a Whack-A-Bump instead. It's time for the main event. Will I win? Will I lose? What the heck do you think? Me, personally, I kinda like my odds. I mean, it's just 150 HP, a boss that can attack thrice per turn, potentially stealing your HP, and has an unsuper guardable attack in the— oh my freaking god! I can't do it! I can't freaking do it anymore! I mean, look at her! What do I do about this? Well anyway, the key to this fight is once again Art Attack. But she otherwise has lightning fast attacks, massive damage potential, and a plethora of ways to hurt me. I'm practically guaranteed to use up at least 1 life stream in the first phase. And I'm already guaranteed to use at least 1 boost sheet. The reason why is because on phase 2, I use a boost sheet here because I can't hurt the Shadow Queen, and we have to attack her at least once per turn, at least 3 times, just to progress the fight. And at the time, I don't think I knew about the trick with Bomb Squad yet. Once we get to the fight to the finish, we do get a guaranteed Shiny Sprite bingo, which means plenty of chances to use Art Attack, but this fight is still really freaking long. And missing super guards here, especially during the attack where she steals your HP, is especially dangerous. She already has the second highest HP set in the game. You don't want to let that last longer than it has any right to. Even with all the live streams I have, I'm just hemorrhaging them this entire fight, which is kind of a given when Mario only has 10 HP. The Shadow Queen is also not very vulnerable to status elements, so good luck using stuff like Clock out here. This fight is scary, absolutely terrifying. And it doesn't help that back then, my strategy was absolutely piss poor. Boost sheets would be wasted, live streams would be burned up like rocket fuel, I keep missing super guards I can't afford to miss, and the audience ain't helping very much. Which if there was a time I needed my audience's help, it'd be here. So please, if you're still watching this video, please subscribe. Often it just felt like there was nothing I could do. I got the Shadow Queen down to as low as 4 HP before missing one more super guard on the hand-sucking attack, and I just could not close the fight out. I was just this close to winning on my first try, just to get absolutely dunked on. All in all though, parts of it were my fault. For example, I for some reason love using Bomb Squad in this fight, despite the fact that it's not very useful here at all. One of the Paper Mario grades, Coop, also said as much in my video. Other times, it would just be bad luck, like say how Mario kept getting targeted turn 1. And with no real visual cues to work off of, yeah, I'd rather have it be Goobella that gets targeted instead. Also, I know I just said that Clockout wasn't a very good move here, but I still was gambling on it for this fight. It took a couple of attempts, but it actually did work. That aside though, I was playing smarter. Not smart, but smarter. Funny to think by the way, the Shadow Queen can actually play pretty smart when I'm being stupid. Like using Power Lift when I use Bomb Squad so I can't do any damage to her. My god, I was so cringe back then. That's not even accounting for attacks that I'm trying to standard guard, but I can't because I have no idea when the attack's supposed to actually hit me. Like the Dangerous Breath. When do you press the A button for this stupid attack? To this day, I don't know that timing. So when my health got low, and I mean really low, like I'm hanging on by the skin of my teeth low, those were my most shining moments. Did you know that the less HP you have, the more star power you get from your audience? Like Grubba says, make him sweat. But with one final whack of my hammer, yeah, I beat the Shadow Queen. And the funny thing is that I still have my Honey Shroom. But also, I also only have one more boost sheet and one more live stream to my name. And I'm still doing the Pit of 100 Trials.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
My first 2 attempts at the Pit, yes, I said my first 2 attempts, both ended at Bonetail. The first attempt ended after only 2 turns. All that I had left was a single maple syrup, whack-a-bump, gradual syrup, and slow shroom. If you're wondering what happened to my live shroom, I lost it on level 78 to a Koopa Troll's Power Shell. Some things just never change. As for the boost sheet, it was used 1 level later because of these 2 Koopa Trolls that had 2 shooting stars. Shooting stars do 6 damage, Mario only has 10 HP. Altogether, that'd be 12. This could have been a good time to use Miss Mouse here, but let's be real here, the boost sheet is the first thing that will come to anyone's mind. The first thing I tried with Mario was to first use Power Lift to get my attack and defense up. But Bonetail was perfectly content using her breath attacks. I wanted to just keep using Sweet Treat so that I would just keep surviving every attack that she would throw at me, but it didn't quite work when I did not get enough HP to heal all the way to max, heck, not even to 8 HP, and I missed a Super Guard. On turn 2. The second attempt, after going through the pit from start to finish, had me fight Bonetail for over half an hour. Rather poetically, the first status element I was afflicted by was Confusion, and it was also the status element that got me killed. However, unlike my first attempt, I had many more items going into this fight this time around, including my Life Shroom. The Life Shroom I lost around halfway through the fight, and by halfway I mean like halfway through the actual HP, but not the fight itself. Now as for the fight itself, I actually got killed at 51 HP left, because I couldn't use Sweet Treat while I was confused and I missed the Super Guard, cause yeah, nothing else I could do about that. And I remember just being so pissed off right now. So much so in fact, that I was actually willing to grind on Twilight Tro to get more Life Shrooms. But just because I actually did do the grinding, it doesn't mean that I, well, use them. And I remember it even now. I took the time to grind a bunch of P down the up badges on a separate save file, made the journey to Bonetail, and I would spend hours upon hours just trying to grind out the field for Bonetail's breath attacks just so that I could finally put her in her place. From there, it was like I was in the Avatar state. Don't get me wrong, I was absolutely terrified, but by now, I was also well equipped enough to actually, well, win. There really is not much to comment on here. She has the same bite as both Gloomtail and Hooktail do that you can't super guard, the same stomp, but she also has both Hooktail and Gloomtail's animation for breath attacks. The only way to win this fight was just to do it. Get consistent, get good, and get in there. Show her who's boss, and show her that you belong. All in all, this fight took me about 20 minutes. Yeah, somehow less time than my failed attempt did. And that's because I wasn't wasting time using Sweet Treat as often. Unfortunately, while I did show Bonneton that I did belong, I can't show you where I actually killed her. And the reason for that is because back then, I used to use a Dazzle. And you likely already noticed also that the video quality is really freaking bad. But that's besides the point. My computer and my Dazzle refused to record properly. And I had no idea how to fix it. I was near the end of the fight with Bonetail, she was about to die, but I couldn't get the ending to show where I actually killed her. Because just out of nowhere, like this has also been happening throughout my entire Let's Play, my Dazzle just malfunctions. As a result, I was left with no other options but to finish the fight without being able to record it properly, and I showed a bit of Bonetail spazzing out before she would fall back on her back and then die. But again, my feed was really shaky, I couldn't really show it for very long. And next thing you know, I'm in the Rogueport depot and I'm just showing you my shot points, and just to say that I did this run 100%, no strings attached, there you have it. What can I say? I'm sorry that I could not show you the finishing blow. I really wanted to, but unfortunately my Dazzle had different plans. And it's only part of the reason why I no longer use a Dazzle anymore. Nowadays, I use an AverMedia HD. And to think, that's only one of the many technological improvements I made to my equipment. But, there you have it. That's the Pit of 100 Trials, Bonetail, and Level 0 Scavenge, once and for all, cleared. So what else is there really to say? I know the actual picture looked pretty bad, but I think that it's just really good to have for, like, prosperity's sake, you know? Just to see the kind of gamer I was before I became what I am today. But that about will do it. Thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, watch another one of my videos, peace out.